kill for what it is that I'm up to. So I'll walk you around the room and show you what it is that we're up to. Let me switch to the proper camera, though, because I guess I'm on the wrong screen. So I'll walk you around the room. Let me pull this up via... I need to control this camera, so I'm just going to open it up in Studio Monitor, make sure that we're running on low bandwidth, save on the bandwidth here. All right, so the P200, which is the one that's up in the roost, now the coloration is going to be super off on this because I have manual settings for the for all this, but this is basically what the studio looks like, and it's half a room, it's half an office, and then the other half is storage and a bunch of other things. But there's basically half a room here, and the easiest way to do this is probably steer this camera around so you can see. So to start off, the major thing is this P4K. This is the camera that I use, as my main shot. And as you can see, it's sitting here on a window ledge, very official. And it's just tucked away in there. I can control it if I need to over, that's this camera. But I can control it over Studio Monitor if I need to, or inside vMix if needed. But P4K is sitting there on the roost. I said P4K, right? Not P400? P4K. And there's some stuff wrong with this camera in terms of the ports on the back. It came back to us damaged. And so, but the NDI output works just fine. So that's what that's all about. Then there is, this right here is my second monitor. So the vMix machine is here next to me. Okay, this is a vMix screen on this side. But then there is the second monitor. So when you see me doing screen share stuff, that is the monitor that I'm referring to. That's also up there in the window. It's actually a small television, but I have it up there next to the camera. And then for the most part, oh, you can't even see me. Let's fix this. So for the most part, I do a, where do I want to do? I'm going to add my face on here. Let's say layers and multi-view. Let's add me into the corner. And number 2, I want this to be main camera. Hey, everybody. So, hey, that's kind of cool. That was easy. So this is the, see the tally lights on the P4K just went red. So that's the TV that when I'm doing interviews and whatever, or I'm doing demonstrations, I'm looking up there and sharing that screen through vMix. That's generally the gist of things. So that's super easy. Yes, there's a fuse box there on the wall. It's very official. But anyways, there is that television. Now, there is a TV mounted underneath, not mounted, it's sitting on some boxes. But you can see that there's a television right there that is my multi-viewer out of vMix. And so I'm sending to a play unit. I'm sending actually to a Frankenstein play unit, sending it to that play and then showing the multi-viewer, which is on NDI output 3 and vMix on that screen. So when I'm talking to the camera, I'm generally checking and making sure that I'm within the frame correctly and all that sort of good stuff. So I have a TV that's just sitting on a box down there. Very official, as many of us are. And also down there on the ground, which you can't see because behind the boxes, is the 4250 switch that runs basically everything inside this office. So there's a huge spaghetti wire system down there, which you can kind of see, and that is where all of those cables go to. But that is the power supply for all the cameras and all the gear that's in this office. So then up here, this camera is sitting on top of a shelf, and this is a P200. This one that's upstairs, the main camera you're looking at, is a P200 that used to be the main camera that sat in front of me where the P4K is now. But this is the P200 shot. And then, of course, the boom stand, which we've added here recently to the actual studio so we could do some recording recently. That is an NTG2. It's on a boom arm, which has a counterweight on the other side, which you can barely see. I'll turn this off now so that you guys can, now that we're back to the main show. So there's a counterbalance on the back side of this. You can see the corner of the shelf. The 200 won't look down that far. But there's a counterbalance on the back of that, which kind of holds this microphone up at the extended range that it is. I should actually raise up the main post now and bring this back down the other way to get it out of the shot for the most part. But just for the placement where it is, it could even go on that side if I wanted to, but whatever. I'm not that picky in terms of what that's doing. Okay, so this screen is the vMix machine. This computer and screen. So there's a Mac Mini that's running underneath this screen, and there's a power distribution box underneath that, which turns on and off all my lights. This screen is the StreamYard computer, and where I'm looking at all the comments and everything like that. So I'm running that in real time on this side of the studio. And then, of course, the boom arm RE20. This is a Falcon Eyes light. It's a circular light that, I wonder if I could get a little closer to that. Maybe the iris would. So yeah, here we go. So this is a Falcon Eyes LED, fully adjustable. Oh, you can even read it there, Falcon Eyes. SO28TD LED light. It does temperature, and it does a bunch of various, it gives you various powers. It can also run off of a battery bank. So if you are gunning these in the field, you could snap a battery on the back of that thing and use it, but I just use it with DC power, and then it's plugged directly into this distribution box that's here on my desk. So when I'm done for the day, I just turn off a single switch, and it turns off my lights, and then this hair light that we'll get to in a second is on a separate circuit, so I have to manually turn that one off, which is slightly annoying, but not the end of the world, you know. So Falcon Eyes is that light, and then there's a similar box light that is over here. It has some barn doors on it, which I'm using as a hair light. I don't remember the exact brand, but these you can find online, especially here in North America. You can find these online fairly simply. The design of this is a bit strange because you can't really point it down, which is where I'm sitting. So you have to close up the barn doors to get it to kind of throw correctly. But it helps with the light on the shoulders and the hat and the top, but then keeping the background fairly, consistent and dark. So that's been good, a good addition. I didn't really have a hair light before, and NetHab will tell you that it took about 2 years of heckling for that to actually happen. So it's nice to have that hair light now. And again, it has barn doors, which is really helpful because you can kind of control things. There's a lot of boxes that are also hiding. Here's that black scrim that I have. It's just a standard, really inexpensive, but it's just black fabric. Now, if you have a dog that has white hair, yikes, man, that was a nightmare. I had to lint roll this thing like 6 times, and you can still see some of the dog hair that's hanging onto it. So remnants of Dexter, of days of old. I just realized that Dexter has officially been gone. I realized this morning. Officially been gone for almost a year. He died in May of last year. And so rest in peace, buddy. He was a good boy. He's a good pup. So anyways, the dog hair, watch out. That's a doozy, and it gets everywhere, especially if by accident you put this on the ground. So yeah, you're gonna have to put a lint roller in the dryer and really get this thing. Now, I haven't taken this thing home and washed it and like gotten all the wrinkles out and everything, which I probably should do, because you can see in this shot, in the big shot, you see the lines that run through it. But the way that I control the gamma on the cameras basically eliminates a lot of that stuff. So some of the dog hair still shows up, but hey, we're real people. And let's take a moment to appreciate and enjoy Everfresh mango carrot juice with 59 added grams of sugar. Oh, it actually does not taste like it smells. Yeah, I take that. That's actually quite good. So, all right, back to the tour. More on that, and whoa, that's sweet though. More on that soon. Oh, geez, yeah, that's really sweet. There are those 59 grams. They probably could have dialed back the 59 grams, to be honest with you. But hey, we try everything once, and Everfresh should be called Eversweet. Really, really is quite sweet. Okay, so let's keep going here, kind of around the room. Oh yeah, don't want to forget the ever important P100 overhead shot with cable management option. So a long time ago, I didn't have these hooks, and I basically just jimmy rigged. Is that the right word? I just MacGyvered the Ethernet cable to go across the roof. Well, then I found these hooks. They're like 2 pieces. They slip together and they lock, but they grab onto the drop ceiling rungs. So there's some hair right there. They grab onto the drop ceiling rungs, and so it's been a while since I've pulled this taut, but it's probably about time. But that's how I do the cable management for the P100 to keep it out of the shot, because before it would fall down and hang down in front of that P100. And that shot is this shot, right? So that's the P100 that hangs from the ceiling. And this one's fun because I can manipulate this a bit, but when you hang a camera upside down and then you point it directly up, essentially, right? Because it's upside down, so it's pointed down. But you point it directly up, it is really difficult to then figure out how the axis works and to get it to focus correctly. So inside Studio Monitor, I'm steering this around right now, but you got to go uber slow because it's pretty tricky to figure out how that all works. But I can definitely steer this camera if you're watching it here. I can steer this camera and adjust it as needed. Now this is at a full extreme. So this angle is fully, like if you pull the slider all the way down, this is the extreme of that. Okay, so that's all the way up, essentially. All the axes are switched. I could flip inside video monitor. I could flip this inside of the web UI and then have up is up and down is down. But instead, it's flipped. So when I go all the way up, it's actually pointing it. It's actually doing this number and going up towards the window, which is where those monitors are and the P4K is. What am I looking at? Okay, so that's my confidence monitor there. And if I keep going, there's the P4K, right? There's that second monitor for my computer screen. You can see that it's been color graded to handle the large. Oh, and here's that large box light that I was just telling you about. So this is just like a standard LED light. Problem is that these lasted for about a year and a half, and then the bulbs started going, whereas these LED panels just go forever. So anyway, so that's kind of the gist of things for that P100. I have yet to get it in this configuration. I've yet to get the P100 to recall presets just like perfectly. So I need to handle that. But anyways, so that is the P100 in the ceiling. Oh, whoops, I didn't mean to close Studio Monitor. That's the P100 and how it's mounted and how I control that. But seriously, really great for doing training videos when we want to, talk about how to set up your cameras and whatever. That P100 is a good place to have. So there we go. That is that little camera, and there I am again. Let me think. What else do I have here? So this is that Behringer. So this is where that audio interface is. Now, a complaint I have about this audio interface. So this is the Behringer. The computer monitor's in the way, but this is that Euphoria. Oh, wowzers. That's not right. What's the story here? What am I? Okay. So this is that Behringer Euphoria 404 HD. It has inputs on the front. Okay, you can see me moving the cables here. It has inputs on the front, and then it has outputs on the back. And for putting that on a tabletop, that sucks. It's terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. All of the inputs should be on the back. Okay? For anybody that's building one of these devices, all the inputs should be on the back, and all the outputs should be on the back. And then the dials should be on the front. Because when it's sitting on a table, you want it to be nice and clean, but you want those cables to go into cable management and be done with it, right? When you put the inputs on the front, I understand the convenience, but you only need that convenience for like a hot second. And then you need it to be clean. And this is not clean to me. So what I'm considering doing is getting 90-degree XLR jacks that I can at least put them in and they'll like come up, and then I could put the cables in and then they could go behind the table. And at least that would get the cables off the desk, but I'd need to clean it up. So yeah, we definitely need to make that happen. Memories of Dexter. Yes. We found videos of Dexy. Obviously I did shows where Dexter was here in the studio in his crate. I've only been here a year, so you've been here longer than that, NetHab. For sure you've been here longer than that. Yes, so the kids and I were finding videos of Dexy, and it's so crazy because you forget how active he was as a dog through all the years you had him. And then when he got old in the last 2.5 years, like really gray, really a lot of health issues and whatever, and you forget some of that. And then we were going through the archives and I was finding videos of him, and yeah, it's good memories of him. So he was a good boy, and I miss him a lot. He was a good pup. Seems like a lot of dusting. How's the ventilation happening here? So we have an air return in the ceiling over on the other side of the office, which you can't see. I've got an air return and an air vent. Usually, though, the only time they run really hard is in the summer when it gets like 80, 90 degrees outside, and that's not okay for a Canadian. And so we turn the air conditioning on. But I have to pretty much turn it off during the show, which is 2 hours of this office heating up. So we hear some protests on the long shows during that time. But that is essentially it. I mean, I have dueling microphone options now, and I'll probably advocate to buy a shotgun microphone for this studio. I also have the option, because the NTG2 is also mine, and the RE20 is mine, but I have the NTG2 is kind of a reasonable microphone price as far as I'm concerned. The RE20 is kind of a specialized thing, so I wouldn't ask BirdDog to buy an RE20. Although we did rent some SM7Bs for NAB 2022, and they were really nice, and I was halfway tempted just to ask them what the price would be, and we would buy them. But yeah, we definitely let me switch this back now. We definitely have some work to do. I would love to have some suggestions. I guess I could back this up to like show the actual studio mess, right? So what do you guys think of this shot, other than I need to take my face off of it, first of all, in the secondary shot? Showing the microphone and all that, like, what do you guys think of this? I can dial back the exposure, but does this... Oh, this was last week's snack. Ritz, mini Ritz, they're good. They're not very filling and not very nutritious, but they're good. So this shot kind of shows like the work, right? It kind of shows the mess a little bit, but I feel like it's a real studio shot, and I think I kind of like it. You know, I think I kind of like the way that looks. I will dial back the exposure because it's a little much, which the good news is on this one, this is just a gain, is all this is. So I can basically eliminate the gain on here. And I'm only shooting in 30 frames, and so technically I could go to 30, but no, I'm not doing that. So let's go back to 60. Let's go up to maybe 3.6 on the gain. Yeah, it's still kind of blown out though, eh? Yeah. Let's compare it with this one. What do you guys think here? These two shots. I feel like that looks pretty good. But it gives more of like it gives more of what's going on in this booth. It means I got to keep my table a little bit cleaner. But anyways, yeah, it gives more of like here's what the setup is, and here's how you do it. Here's how I do it. Okay, it's not how you do it. It's how I do it. And that is the key. That's the thing that nobody says in this industry. And I'll say it because, you know, whatever. If people are going to hate on me, that's fine. These productions, these studios, these things that people are coming up with, most of them are just people trying stuff. And like the ones that do it really well, like you look at the YouTubers and you look at the guys that have these like professional setups and whatever, they started somewhere. My favorite example is when Marquez Brownlee from YouTube, MKBHD, he says, you know, he did a video a couple of years ago now about, let's look back at my first video, and he shows him reviewing like a camcorder that his mom had, and he's just giving his likes and dislikes on it. It was his first video, and it's a webcam, no lighting, you know, questionable audio. That's where he started, and he just got better over time, and that's how this works. Is hopefully you're working towards. The goal is not arriving. The goal is the journey. And so if you're moving in a positive direction, that is the goal. The goal is not getting to some place where it's like, great, now it's done, which is actually a pretty common fault in some people's thinking, especially people who have the money but don't have the intuition. So they're willing to fund something and say, I want that production, but they don't know how to do it. The goal should always be about getting to going towards the goal. But if you ever get to the point where you've arrived, you're done. You shouldn't be producing anything because you should always be getting better because the industry is always getting better. So yes, it would be better to work towards a goal. And honestly, that's the story of this studio is I added one piece at a time. I didn't buy a whole fleet of stuff. I added one piece at a time. And as things come to me, I integrate them in or I choose it's not for me. For example, I have a set of microphones that are the wireless Go microphones, and I have a lapel. Sometimes I use it. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it works for what I want to do. Sometimes the NTG2 is the better option. It just depends. It depends on what you're doing. It depends on what you need. But for my everyday show, for the twice a week right here for an hour and a half, this is the microphone I use. I don't use the NTG2. I use the RE20 because it gives that clarity of audio that is what I want. This is the audio I want to produce instead of this ambient sound that picks up the squeaks of my chair and all that. I don't want that. So